You're watching A News. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov, and let's see the top stories. Israeli airstrike kills another senior Hamas official, Hamas-affiliated media reports. Russia, United States conduct another round of talks in Riyadh aimed at finding a resolution of the Ukraine conflict. Pope Francis expresses gratitude for the steps taken toward peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia, labeling their progress as a sign of hope. An Israeli airstrike has hit Gaza's Nasser hospital in the southern city of Khan Yunis, killing at least 5 and wounding several others, according to medics. Footage captured flames burning the exterior sign on the hospital's facade, while thick clouds of smoke billowed from the building. The Israeli military says the strike targeted a key Hamas militant near the hospital, but did not specify the individual. However, the Hamas-affiliated Shehab news agency claimed the strike killed Ismail Barhoum, a member of Hamas political bureau. Yesterday, Hamas officials reported that a separate strike killed Hamas political leader Saleh al-Bardawil. Meanwhile, the Israeli military announced that its 36th Division, which previously carried out operations in Lebanon, is now preparing for potential activity in Gaza. The military says it has begun preparations for operations in the Southern Command. Video footage was released showing tanks being unloaded in a field, accompanied by a caption reading, "Preparations of the 36th Division for operations in the Gaza Strip." After 2 months of relative calm, the situation in Gaza escalated last week, leaving the future uncertain. Tensions continue to rise between the United States and Iran as diplomatic efforts to revive the nuclear deal hit a standstill. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has firmly rejected talks with the United States on the current conditions, following a letter from President Donald Trump proposing a new deal. Araghchi emphasized that any negotiations could only happen if Washington alters its approach.
Foreign Minister of Iran Abbas Araghchi stated that Tehran will not engage in talks with the US as long as Washington maintains its pressure policy. His statement came in response to President Donald Trump's letter proposing a new nuclear deal. Earlier this month, Trump sent a letter to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei offering 2 choices: military confrontation or an agreement. Khamenei dismissed it as a deception. Araghchi said Tehran would soon respond to the threats and opportunities in Trump's letter. Araghchi emphasized that negotiations with America were not possible under the current conditions and could only take place if certain approaches changed, recalling Trump's 2018 withdrawal from the 2015 nuclear deal. Consequent indirect talks on Iran's nuclear program with Biden administration have failed. Araghchi ruled out restoring the previous deal, stating Iran's nuclear advancements make a return impossible, but acknowledged the 2015 agreement could serve as a basis for new talks. Earlier, International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi warned that time is running out for a new deal as Iran enriches uranium close to weapon-grade levels. Tehran insists its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes.
U.S. and Russian officials began talks in Saudi Arabia aimed at making progress towards a broad ceasefire in Ukraine. Washington is hoping for a Black Sea ceasefire deal before securing a wider agreement. The talks follow U.S. discussions with Ukraine on Sunday and after President Donald Trump's dialogues with both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin. However, there is a huge gap in expectations that remain between Washington and Moscow. Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov described talks with the United States-U.S. delegation in Saudi Arabia as constructive and meaningful. Umerov, who led the Ukrainian delegation, shared on social media that key issues, particularly the energy sector, were discussed during the meeting. The talks are part of a broader diplomatic push by US President Donald Trump to bring an end to the three-year war between Russia and Ukraine. Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney has called for early elections, seeking a strong mandate to confront the economic threat posed by US President Donald Trump's tariffs. Carney, who previously served as a central banker, has recently assumed leadership of the Liberal Party and is now embarking on a 5-week campaign.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced a snap election for April 28th, seeking a strong mandate to address the economic threat posed by U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. Although the election was originally set for October 20th, Carney hopes to capitalize on a recent rise in Liberal support following Trump's trade threats and the resignation of former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Carney, a former central banker with no prior political experience, secured the Liberal leadership 2 weeks ago by convincing party members he could handle the crisis.
We can control our destiny. We can have a new Canada built by us, for us. We can give ourselves more than any foreign government can take away. And the best way we can deal with this crisis is to build our strength here at home and help people who will be hit hardest by these tariffs. That's the right thing to do. That's the fair thing to do. That's the Canadian thing to do. That's what makes us strong. As part of that strategy, today I'm proposing a middle-class tax cut to help all working Canadians get ahead. We will cut the lowest income tax bracket by 1 percentage point for a middle-class tax cut that will benefit a 2-income family by up to $825 a year.
With 5 weeks to campaign, Carney faces a competitive race. The Conservatives label him an out-of-touch elitist devoted to high spending and question his financial transparency. Recent polls shows the Liberals slightly ahead with 42% support to the Conservatives' 37%, according to polls.
Political tensions continue in South Korea. The Constitutional Court has overturned the impeachment of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, allowing him to return to office. Following the ruling, security measures in Seoul have been tightened, while parliament members demand urgent action on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment.
South Korea's Constitutional Court has overturned the impeachment of Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, reinstating him as acting president. Following the ruling, political tensions persist in Seoul, with security measures reinforced.
결정에 감사드립니다.
I am grateful for the wise decision made by the Constitutional Court. I am deeply grateful to all members of the Cabinet for their dedication during the suspension of my duties. I will address the urgent situations first.
국무위원들 한 분 한 분께
A heavy police presence was stationed outside the courthouse as Parliament members called for an urgent decision on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment, with the court yet to rule on his case. Opposition lawmaker Shin Jong-hoon called him the leader of the insurrection. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister emphasised the importance of ending political polarisation in the country.
우리 모든 국민들은
I believe that all of our citizens are now firmly raising their voices, saying that we should not be deeply divided by the fiercely opposing political factions. I think there is no longer a left or right. What is truly important, and our task now, is for our country to move forward and develop.
있다고 저는 생각합니다. 오로지 우리나라가
With the Constitutional Court's ruling, Han Duck-soo has returned to office. He was impeached on December the 27th amid tensions with Parliament after refusing to appoint 3 justices to the Constitutional Court.
After weeks of uncertainty following a series of earthquakes in February, Santorini is finally welcoming its first cruise ship of the season. The tremors forced ship to reroute, left businesses worried, and even led some people to flee. But now, with the government reassuring visitors that it's safe, Tourists are returning, and locals are hopeful that this marks the start of a much-needed tourism rebound.
The first cruise ship of the season arrived at the island of Santorini following a series of earthquakes in February that had forced cruise ships to divert to other islands, prompted evacuations and raised concerns about the upcoming tourism season. Tourists expressed excitement about returning to Santorini and said they felt reassured by the safety measure taken by the government.
We love being the first cruise ship that got a chance to come to Santorini. We feel really blessed.
I've been here before, and yes, it's kind of unusual how you've redone where we stop, where we go, but you've worked it out in the midst of all of your shakes around here. So I think you've done a good job.
Heard about the earthquakes when I was in the States, thousands of earthquakes, but small. So initially I thought, well, maybe I won't see Santorini, but it changed again. So luckily I get to come, and it's beautiful, and we got the most beautiful day to visit.
Meanwhile, locals, including shop owner Tassos Kontos, expressed hope that the island's tourism industry would recover.
We all hope that things will return to normal, that people will come back. The cloud seems to be lifting, so things should improve for everyone. At least that's what we hope.
Greece, located on multiple fault lines, is one of the most earthquake-prone countries in Europe, according to the Institute of Geodynamics at the National Observatory of Athens. Despite the recent tremors, both tourists and locals remain hopeful that Santorini's tourism season will recover as planned.
Eritrea has released 18 Azerbaijani ship crew members. It's after on November the 7th last year. Eritrean authorities detained 3 ships, the CMS Pehlevan, CMS Igid and CMS-3, which were all operated by the Azerbaijani branch of Caspian Marine Services BV. After prolonged negotiations by relevant Azerbaijani authorities, the crew have all been brought home. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, during their time in Eritrea, the Azerbaijani embassy in Ethiopia provided consular support and ensured their needs were met. Pope Francis has expressed gratitude for the steps taken toward peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan as the two nations move closer to finalizing a peace agreement. The Pope referred to the progress in the South Caucasus as a sign of hope and prayed it could inspire other conflicts to find resolution through dialogue and goodwill. I'm pleased that Armenia and Azerbaijan have agreed on the final text of the peace agreement. I hope that it may be signed as soon as possible and may thus contribute to establishing lasting peace in South Caucasus, the statement of the Holy See reads. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will pay an official visit to Armenia today and tomorrow. According to a statement from the Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Ani Badalyan, Araghchi will hold bilateral talks with Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan in Yerevan on Tuesday. Araghchi will also meet with Armenia's Prime Minister and other officials to discuss strengthening bilateral relations and recent regional developments. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai says the visit is carried out as part of ongoing consultations between Iran and its neighbors. To help us to understand the implications of this visit, we are joined by Mustafa Yetim, political analyst at the Center for Middle Eastern Strategic Studies. Mustafa, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mustafa, Iran and Armenia maintain close economic and political ties. What key issues do you think will dominate Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi's discussions with his Armenian counterpart?
As we all know, Iran and Armenia, in the beginning, especially with the end of Cold War, they developed their strategic partnership in different areas, involving military defense areas as well. The strategic goal is simple. I mean, their main purpose is to defend Azerbaijan, to contain Azerbaijan, because they are both afraid of Azerbaijan. power situation and position in Caucasia, in Central Asia, and international platform. This is why they always, this is the first point over which they are cooperating for some years. And also, as an important Turkish population, it is another matter of concern that they are supporting Armenia, these different kind of ambitions. Of course, we know that the occupation of Nagorno-Karabakh ended with a successful Azerbaijan operation, and it was completely liberated, and that is a growing in the previous years there was also a kind of stronger interactions and the links between Turkey and Azerbaijan, but these relations turned into something very important level with the liberation of Nagorno-Karabakh, and right now we are witnessing a kind of Nahchivan cooperation between Turkey and Azerbaijan, and there is a possibility to open a new way linking Azerbaijan and Turkey. These steps and Armenian-Azerbaijan normalization and possible integration of Armenia into Turkish-Azerbaijan cooperation, because there is an ongoing peace negotiations between Azerbaijan. All of them always kind of alarming Iran, because Iran's Central Asian or Caucasian strategic vision and perspective is based on containing, weakening, whatever you say, both Turkish and Azerbaijan claims and their powerful status. So of course, they never abandon each other. Armenia and Azerbaijan, even though we know that Russia is the main global supporter of Armenia in terms of its reach out to international platform and other types of economic, military guarantees and etc. But of course, when it comes to regional, let's say, platform or level, there appears Iran. And Iran's, it is understandable from Tehran's perspective that they are afraid of growing powerful roles of Azerbaijan and Turkey in this region, and they're intensifying a kind of having a one nation, two state perspective in this relation. Is always a kind of worrying Iran. This is a first and a driving force. We cannot deny this reality, but there are also other steps, taken by these countries to improve relations in different realms, economic relations. Turkey and Azerbaijan is enhancing their energy cooperation. This is bringing a mutual benefit. But Armenia is an isolated country. The only way to arrive at international markets or international, let's say, flow of capital or investments and etc., is both Turkey and Azerbaijan. Without kind of improving the relations with these countries, Armenia cannot achieve anything by itself. When it tries to look at Iran is also an isolated country. As you already mentioned in the beginning, we know that Iran has a serious problem with Western countries, already sanctioned and by the Western countries and UK. There is also a kind of worst case scenario facing Iran after its severe clashes with Israel, of course. And then these clashes and these conflicts between Iran and Israel already weakened Iran's regional posture, and it opened a kind of direct attacks to its borders from Israel, Yani this was the first. Yani Iran kind of was vulnerable to Israel's direct, let's say, attacks and a kind of indirect assassination process. So, if to summarize, there is already serious problems, internal and external problems facing Iran. And then we know that Trump's maximum pressure, he already declared that, and he sent a letter to Iran, and if he is saying that he is telling Iranian counterparts that if you fail to realize the points or ambitions or purposes or whatever you say,
Mustafa,
then you will face the maximum pressure. This is what we saw in the first Trump term. So all in all, yani, in a nutshell, there are lots of motivations forcing these two countries to deepen their cooperations, but indeed, as a matter of fact, for Armenia, Iran is not a good option.
Mustafa, thank you for sharing your insights with us. Thank you very much, Mustafa. We appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Turkish authorities have detained 1,133 people since the start of protests amid growing unrest or an investigation into the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, according to Ali Yerlikaya, the Minister of Internal Affairs. Among those captured includes affiliated with 12 different terrorist organizations have been identified. The minister added that 123 police officers were injured. The demonstrations were linked to an ongoing probe led by the Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office. The Turkish Interior Minister stated that authorities would not tolerate any attempts to disrupt public order or threaten national security. Turkey's Capital Markets Board has introduced a series of measures in response to recent developments in the Istanbul Stock Exchange. The regulatory actions, which took effect today and will last for 1 month, will aim to ensure market stability and investor protection.
Effective from Monday, the 24th of March, until the close of trading on the 25th of April, the Capital Markets Board of Turkey has implemented several key measures to ensure market stability and investor protection. Those measures include a ban of short selling in the equity markets of Borsa Istanbul Turkey Stock Exchange market, eased regulations on share buybacks for publicly traded companies, increased flexibility in equity ratio requirements for margin trading in capital market transactions. According to the board, these measures are designed to create a reliable, transparent, efficient, stable, fair, and competitive environment for the functioning and development of capital markets. It says protecting the rights and interests of investors remains a priority. The Financial Regulatory and Supervisory Agency also says it's closely monitoring transactions conducted in Borsa Istanbul to maintain market integrity and stability. Market analysts believe these measures could have a significant impact on investor behavior, influencing trade volumes and overall market sentiment in the coming weeks.
Turkey's defense industry has successfully completed a crucial test for its artificial intelligence-powered mini-cruise missile Kemankesh-1. Developed by Baykar, the missile has now proven its capabilities in a maximum flight and dive test. Turkish defense company Baykar says its artificial intelligence-powered mini-cruise missile Kemankesh-1 has successfully completed its maximum flight and dive test. It's part of the missile's ongoing development program, and the company says it marks a significant step forward in Turkey's defense capabilities. Turkey's first tech company says 2 Kemankesh-1 missiles were launched from a Bayraktar TB2 unmanned combat aerial vehicle at the company's flight training and test center in Keşan, Edirne. Both missiles flew more than 100 kilometers before executing precise dive maneuvers toward their designated targets. The test concluded with parachute-assisted landings. Kemankesh-1 is the first in Baikar's family of mini-intelligent cruise missiles and has been specifically designed to target high-value strategic assets. The device is intended for integration with Baikar's advanced platforms, including Bayraktar TB2, TB3, and Akıncı unmanned combat aerial vehicles. Equipped with an AI-assisted electro-optical guidance system, jet engine propulsion, and anti-jamming technology, Kemankesh-1 is built to withstand electronic warfare and adverse battlefield conditions. The tech company says that with a range exceeding 200 kilometers, the missile is capable of engaging targets behind enemy lines and remaining airborne for up to an hour. The Turkish defense company says it has been designed for high-precision strikes, says it makes a valuable asset for modern warfare scenarios. That's all for now. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more updates.